All right, this video is going to be about moving toward backbending for people who aren't very flexible to begin. And that definitely describes me when I start yoga. I don't have a very flexible low back. I don't have a lot of space in between my rib cage and my pelvis. So you won't see me moving around a lot in this space. You see a lot of people who can very easily bend. For me, this required a lot of opening the shoulders and a lot of opening the hip flexors. And the hip flexors are a lot of what we're going to be working on right here. So to go into this, the first thing I'm going to recommend is coming into lunges rather frequently. And this is to get into the hip flexors, especially the psoas, which is a deep, strong muscle, the femur bone, I should say, and then threads its way through the pelvis. And then it has another connection going toward your low back. And a lot of time this pulls your low back forward. And this can cause a lot of low back pain, actually. That muscle is tight and it's not actually lengthened and strengthened. So what we're going to do is just come into a lunge to begin from standing. My left foot's at the front of the mat. I'm going to step my right foot back and just bring my hands to my hips. Now, with your hands on your hips, you can actually feel whether your hips are squared pretty well here. And you want to keep your hips squared forward. So I'm pulling my right hip forward, my left hip back, my right heel is lifted behind. And I'm going to keep myself tall through the spine and with my hips pressed forward. Glutes engaged on the right side. Now from here, just start to sink down. Bring your knee toward the floor. Try to stay upright. You don't have to go super deep. And then come back up. And then again, sink down. We're just going to do this 3 times. And come back up. One more time, sink down. And try to just hover the knee above the floor. Stay tall through your spine. And then we're going to take this to a lower version of this lunge. So bring the knee down to the floor. Go ahead and flatten the right foot down behind you. Now with that foot flat, start to kick into the floor. Engage the glutes on the right side. Sink your hips forward. Again, hands in your hips. Press the hips forward. Let that left knee bend. And find the long arc from the right knee through the pelvis and to the right shoulder. Go ahead and bring your gaze up. You can look forward if you like, but the more you can press your hips forward and lengthen out the front of the body, the better. And if you want to take this even further, you can kick into the top of the right foot, maybe hover the right knee, and this is pretty stressful here if you don't do this very often. And then go ahead and release this. We're going to take it on the other side. So go ahead, tuck the toes of the right foot, step the right foot forward, and then right foot at the front, left foot goes back. And again, just find your lunge. Now hands are your hips, the hips are squared, left hip pulls forward, right hip pulls back, keep the bend in the right knee, keep the left heel lifted behind. And then again, keep your spine upright. Now from here, just sink that left knee down, take it slow. And then bring this back up. And then again, left knee comes down. And then bring this back up. Keep your spine upright. Sink down one more time. Now just work to hover the knee above the floor. Hold here. It doesn't have to be super deep. And then go ahead and release the left knee. Bring it all the way down. Flatten the left foot behind you. Now sink your hips further down. Let that right knee track forward, but keep the hips pressed forward. Draw the shoulders back. And this can be good enough right here. You're going to feel this in the front of the pelvis on the left side and all through that left thigh. Now here again, if you want to take it deeper, you can kick into that back foot, maybe hover the knee. And this is pretty stressful if you're not used to it, keep in mind. And then go ahead and release. Now from here, we're going to stay down. So go ahead and bring your hands down to the floor. Bring your legs from underneath you. And we're going to take this into 2 backbend. Actually, we're going to take this into 3 different versions. Of moving toward backbending here. Now the first is a reverse tabletop shape, which isn't exactly a backbend, but you start stretching out the front of your body, and this is a good one for getting into the front of the shoulders. So feet in front of you about hips width distance, hands behind the shoulders about shoulder width. Now if you can, point your fingertips forward. If that's too much on your wrists, rotate your fingers out to the sides. But go ahead and press in your hands, press in your feet, just lift your seat up off the floor. And then from this level, we're going to take this up and down. So with an inhale, press your hips up high. Exhale, sink this down. Inhale, lift your hips again. And with the exhale, lower. Inhale, press up high. Exhale, come down. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Now one more time with an inhale, lift your hips and keep them lifted here. Now as you hold on to this, you can look forward, you can look up, you can hang your head back. And wherever your gaze is, pressing your hands, lift your chest. And that should be a pretty aggressive stretch in the front of the shoulders. Hold that. Keep your glutes engaged and keep your hips lifting. Engagement of the glutes that keeps this pressed up, keep in mind. And keep in mind. And just breathe this. And keep in mind, you want to hold the tension of the lift. Once you're up, this should not be passive at all. You're gripping with your fingers, pressing into your feet, squeezing your glutes. And then go ahead and bring this all the way down. And just release your hands for a moment. Now from here, I want to take it further down, and this is going to look much more like a back bend. This is going to be bridge pose here. So go ahead and bring yourself all the way down. So your back comes down to the floor, arms down at your sides with the palms down. Now arrange this with your feet and knees about hips-width distance apart. Bring the heels close enough to your seat that you can flatten the low back as much as possible while you're down like this. And there's a lot of versions of bridge. This is probably the most basic, but we're going to take this up and down before we hold this. So press your hands, keep your gaze up toward the ceiling. And then with an inhale, press your hips up high. With the exhale, roll back down. Inhale, lift your hips again. And then with the exhale, lower. Inhale, press up high. Exhale, roll down. Inhale, lift again. Exhale, lower. Inhale, press this up high. Exhale, roll down. And then inhale, lift one more time. Now stay lifted here. Now as you hold on to this, take the weight onto the shoulders, press into your hands. And as your feet press down, squeeze your glutes and keep your hips lifting again here. Hold the tension of the lift. And this is good enough to staying lifted like this. Now if you want to deepen your bridge, keep the glutes engaged, but maybe bring your hands underneath your hips. You can interlace the fingers, maybe pull your palms together, maybe work your shoulders further behind your back to open your chest even more. Keep the feet pressing down, press the hips up high, and keep breathing here. And then take an inhale. And with the exhale, just release this. Roll everything back down and just take a couple breaths. And you can stay loose here. You can let the legs move side to side. Now the next pose we're going to take this into is definitely going to be a back bend. So this is going to go into wheel pose. Some people call this a high bridge. And coming into this, it's going to be the same basic setup to move into this. If you can't lift to the full pose, don't worry about it. Just work this as best you can. You can work your bridge for a while. And the limitations can easily be in the hip flexors, which is what we've been trying to get into, and even very likely through the shoulders. So if you're not able to get up all the way, don't worry about it. You can work on this to get into the pose. It took me about 2 years to actually pick up my head off the floor in this shape. Now coming into this, again, feet and knees about hips-width distance apart, heels close to your seat, just like before, so you can flatten your low back. But this time, hands are going to come around your head. Fingertips toward your shoulder. Right up. So when lift your hips up off the floor, and then pressing your hands. Now you can take your weight to your head and just bring the top of the head to the floor. You're still pressing mostly to your hands. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead, straighten your arms, press your hips up high, and just breathe here. Now if you want to take it back and forth, you can come up and come back down. It takes me a little bit of warming up to really come into this full shape. But you want to press in your hands, keep your glutes engaged, keep your hips lifting. If you feel it's too much in your low back, you can always lift your heels, and that'll give you some relief. But squeeze the shoulder blades toward each other, squeeze your glutes, and keep your spine nice and long, and just breathe here. And if you want to take it deeper, you can always start to walk the feet in, and you'll feel this then going through your chest, because it'll bring your hips up higher and give you a deeper arch. And then when you're ready, just go ahead and bring this all the way back down. And once you're down, draw your knees into your chest, just squeeze everything in. And after back bending, especially if you're not used to this, I do recommend relieving this some twisting. I'm just going to take a supine twist. So my left leg is going to go forward. My left hand comes to the right knee, right arm out to the side. I'm going to pull my right knee across the body, keep both shoulders down, and bring my gaze to the right side. And you want to feel this twist through your midsection. And it'll travel a little bit in the outer right hip toward the low back. If you want to take it further, you can press with your left hand, and maybe even extend the right leg. And then back in the center, both knees to the chest. And I'll take this to the other side. So my right leg, left hand to the right knee, left arm to the side. I'm going to draw the left knee across my body, tuck the right hip underneath, both shoulders down. And here again, and bring the gaze to the opposite side of that knee that's moving when you twist. My gaze goes left. Now if you want to take it further, you can press with the right hand, maybe extend your left leg to go deeper. And then I'm back at center. Now you can always take that a little bit further, but when you're ready, just bring yourself up to a seat. And that's a good way just to work on your back bending here. And keep in mind, there's no reason you have to take it all the way to wheel. If you're having a hard time, it can take a while to open up. And you're going to need to probably work with somebody to see what you need to do if you're having a lot of problems. Probably some tightness in the chest or tightness in the front of the pelvis that's holding you back.